All right, let's do this. Are you ready?
Taylor Swift, are you here? Taylor Swift, can we eat brunch? Taylor Swift, come on, Taylor Swift. I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed that Taylor Swift is not here.
I think her spirit is really busy doing something important, like drinking
coffee. She's a busy
coffee.
lady. She's got things to do.
Maybe.
Come on, Taylor Swift. Yes! Yes! Taylor Swift's going to be brunch with me. Are we supposed to run
away now?
I think so. That's a little thing.
We can't run. There's a lot of cords. We'll unplug something.
Hey, it's Bailey Dot.
I don't understand what you're doing, but whoa, that is this is something that we're trying.
That's pretty much what we were trying to do right there.
Taylor.
No,
stop.
Get your hands off her.
Sorry.
Stop.
Wait.
Stop.
Her spirit. We were just channeling her spirit, dude. Why don't you push your?
Stroke her hair gently.
I'm sorry,
better.
Taylor.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Taylor.
That's right.
That's better.
So do you know what the Charlie
No, I have no
is?
idea what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness, guys! The Charlie Challenge is kind of amazing. Let me pull this up for you guys so you can see what Charlie Challenge is about. It is the huge thing that is all over Twitter right now. It's the Charlie Challenge, where people are summoning a demon.
They're summoning an airplane demon.
There you go.
The most dangerous of all the demons.
The airplane demon. The story is that there's, and I honestly don't know too much about the story. I don't care that much about the story, but it's supposedly there's a Mexican demon named Charlie who is a little kid who killed himself, and they're summoning him by putting this yes/no thing together. It is all over Twitter. If you guys do a Twitter search for Charlie Challenge, then you will see so many videos of people. Let me see if I can find a video.
Did you legit say there's a Mexican demon named Charlie?
Yes, I know. And what?
That in and of itself was kind of
that when I heard that too, I was like, wait,
y'all.
his name is Charlie?
Y'all?
Really?
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, there are videos all over the internet right now of people doing the Charlie Challenge, and it has become a huge thing. To the point now, there's even people that are posting. One of the ghost hunters went on there and said, "Hey, you shouldn't do that. Don't expose guys. It's a pencil." I'm pretty much guaranteed. Now, having said that, if we could actually summon the spirit of Taylor Swift in here to have brunch with us, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that necessitate her being dead?
No.
We like to believe
So we're going like full on
strong.
so Taylor Swift is essentially the Sorcerer Supreme. She can astral project.
Yes.
You can summon Taylor Swift to your
She's
side.
like a level
She has a
5
little
music
eye of
expert.
Agamotto.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty
Right
much nailed
here.
it right there.
Okay.
Nailed it. Now,
Whatevs.
according to this, though, if we don't do this right, then we're going to leave a portal open. So we've got to say, Taylor Swift, we can stop. And I'm done.
And
apparently we've closed the portal, so that now we're not going to be haunted by anything. And the studio's now not
I would be
haunted by the
haunted by
spirit of
Taylor
Taylor
Swift, just so we're all clear.
This is our life, people. This is our life.
Haunted.
I'm haunted by Taylor Swift. Yes, so yeah, do the thing.
Do the thing.
All y'all don't run away without saying goodbye because you're leaving a portal to the demon world open and they're going to come find you.
You know what might travel through that portal from the demon world are leaks.
Leaks. Wow, that's a transition.
That's your turn? That was the turn you decided to do?
Right there.
Really?
I feel like
did we really need that transition? Couldn't we just say, "Hey, we're going to start the show now"?
Maybe we should have.
did.
Yeah, maybe we should have just started
I like
the show.
the idea. I like the idea of all of our of pilot leaks and inappropriate leaks coming from a hell dimension and not stupid people on the internet.
Okay,
can we
we'll
go
roll
with my
with
theory
that.
better?
Well, I mean, the leaks don't come from the internet. The internet is the place where they reside and where we can find them. Other people place them on the internet. It could have been someone who worked for the studio. It could have been the studio itself, or it could have been you, frankly. I don't know.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about what we're talking
Let's talk
about.
about what we're actually talking about right here. The Supergirl pilot was leaked. We talked last week about the Supergirl trailer that came out. The Supergirl, I think that's it. The Supergirl pilot was leaked. That's it.
My name?
So the actual whole pilot was leaked online last week. And the buzz has been really, really positive about it. Like, really positive. Which has led a lot of people to wonder whether this was done on purpose. First of all, it's a high definition leak. It's not some like really low, grainy, pixelated version of the pilot. This is an HD version of the pilot that is leaked out and is torted out there. And a lot of people are asking whether this was done on purpose. I think clearly yes.
Well, I think that a lot of people had like an initial negative reaction to the Supergirl pilot because, you know, again, the internet being what it is, like there were some negative responses and people were a little, in my opinion, overly critical. And so
Of the trailer, not the pilot.
Of the trailer, not
Right.
the pilot. And so for the pilot to be leaked in really good, like in really great format, like kind of looks a little suspect to me.
I mean, and like I said, I think it boils down to this. The trailer came out, there was a lot of, I want to say it's divided, because I love the pilot. There are a lot of, trailer. I love the trailer. A lot of people I know love the trailer, but there were a lot of people that said, oh, this trailer is horrible. So they were facing this backlash for a show that's still 6 months out. We're still months and months away from the show being out. I think that this was damage control by the network. Say like, no, seriously, this is a good show. And they went ahead and threw the pilot out there. To me, that seems pretty clear.
I don't know who could watch this trailer and say it was a bad trailer, though. I mean, I'm dead inside, and I thought this trailer, like I had a visceral emotional reaction to this trailer.
Yeah.
And that's not just because, like, every fanboy, I've kind of have a thing for Supergirl. Like, there's those that have the thing for Supergirl and those that have a thing for Power Girl. I've always been... I don't know what that means.
Power Girl? Really? I've never heard
I have a lot of love for Power Girl, but her and Supergirl are, like, so the same and so different at the same time.
Well, Earth 1
Like
versus Earth 2.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
But I'll agree with you, man. Supergirl.
Wicked hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Supergirl.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah. Anyway, long story short, what do you think, Josh? Was this on purpose by the network?
I don't know. I mean, what does it hurt?
It's true.
I mean, to a certain extent, you have to, like, the whole industry is shifting in such a way that they could probably generate more energy and attention for the actual premiere of the show if it premieres online than versus if they just air the pilot on television, because traditionally pilots suck.
Yeah.
They're just terrible. Yeah. And it's you put it on TV, those that watch it, you can generate a much bigger audience online as it builds itself up. And even before the first day of your premiere, you've actually got some pretty solid knowledge about what people like and what people hate. And then you can change it moving forward, as opposed to, like, it aired once, and now, what did the, 1 million people who saw it, what did they think, versus hey, it aired on the internet through a leak. 15 million people saw it, watched it 12 different times, they've been talking about it ad nauseum, and now is the premiere date, and all of the people that didn't download it, they're flipping through the channels and they see it on TV, maybe I'll watch it. So they really don't lose anything, and if it generates enough attention, they can actually then charge for more for that ad revenue that they were going to be putting in those commercial spots, because they can go to the advertisers and say, hey, we've just generated a shit ton of buzz around this thing because of the leak. Think about how many people will actually have eyeballs on your advertisement during the actual live airing of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's really beneficial to them. I mean, regardless of who leaked it, it's very beneficial to them. It's very beneficial to the show. So beneficial that I think the chances that it was, not leaked by someone who was part of the production, the chances are pretty slim. But I do want to talk about the people who are not watching it, who are not watching the pilot, who are going to wait until the premiere of the pilot to actually watch it on TV. And I'm one of those people, and Mark's one of those people, and why we're sort of choosing to be
those people.
It's called being old.
No, it's not called being old. Because
quietly accepted.
I think Nerdist talked about this the other day as well. And they were
also old.
They were talking about how you shouldn't necessarily watch this. Yes, it's leaked, but it's still a production, and you should still watch it when it comes out, because at the end of the day, the people that made this need to get paid. I have had stuff that I have made be stolen, quote unquote, and put up other places where I get no ad revenue, where I get no return on that kind of stuff. And it kills me as a creator to put that stuff out there and then have it not be seen in any way that I can get paid for. I don't watch any leaks. I don't watch any of the torrented stuff. I will not torrent anything. If I can't get it in a legal way where the creators don't get paid, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not, because I think they need to get paid. I think, Josh, you had the perfect point. This is generating buzz so that once this thing does hit, the ad revenue is going to go up. I will watch it then, let them get the money for their advertising, let them do all that stuff. That's how I'm going to support the show. But I'm not going to watch anything leak. I'm just not.
I don't know. There's certain things that you just have, in terms of the dynamics of the television industry, they've already gotten paid. The actors have all been paid, the writers have all been paid, everyone's been paid. There are people, has the rest of the season and the series been picked up yet?
You need to change.
No. So this isn't about the payday yet. This is about the promotion for the eventual payday.
Fair enough.
So if this leads, if they put this pilot out, if this pilot gets leaked and millions of people saw it and they say, Wow, that was just me putting my hand up, and suddenly there was a big S there.
That happens a lot.
The studio can say, people fucking hate this. We're not going to spend any more money on it. We can pull the plug now. We don't have to worry about getting the Nielsen ratings back or any of that stuff. We have real-time analysis here. The flip side of that is that they can know going into the pilot, well, shit, we should order 13 episodes of this because we only have 3 in the bank right now, and if we start producing earlier, we can make more money because we don't have a 6-month hiatus until the next episodes come out. So the calculus behind all of this stuff is changing, and it's changing rapidly. They have to experiment with it.
That's my next question. I mean, do you think at this point that, are we seeing a real shift in the way that traditional networks are looking at their content? Because we've been so dominated by pilots and everything like that. But like you just said, we're getting information. We're getting all this out there. Are we looking more at how the internet and how it's being consumed online just as much as we're looking at those old school Nielsen ratings now, hopefully?
Well, I like actually what Josh said about, releasing it, releasing the stolen or leaked pilot online and using that on the internet to generate a more statistical likelihood that people will enjoy it. Because you look at shows like Daredevil and things that are moving to Netflix, and those shows are getting different and newer numbers and analyses on how people view things. So there may be that angle or aspect to it as well. Things are watched differently and more frequently than on the internet than they are on TV. So
consumption habits have changed.
Well.
Revenue, revenue streams are changing. It's the Wild West of media right now. So I don't think it's as simple as saying, "Oh, it leaked."
That's true.
We just don't know. Frankly, you can go as far back as South Park and when The Spirit of Christmas came out and was basically complete, like everyone just basically recorded from VHS tape to VHS tape and it was handed around from dorm to dorm to dorm. And you watched it at college parties and you thought it was the funniest thing ever. That was arguably, theft. Because it's basically people pirating and passing around this thing. And this is pre-internet. But that directly led to that, in many ways, to that show getting picked up and the popularity of that show. So if you can, I'd be very interested to see if pilots, why wouldn't you premiere it online before you premiere it on television? Because what you're talking about here is you want to be able to limit that, like for the people that are on the ad model. Like there's limited amount of ad space. What they're trying to do is they're trying to sell small quantities. I've only got 15 minutes of ad space to sell and you want it. But the value of that is determined by the perceived audience of the product. So if they release that pilot, because with a pilot, they don't have a track record. They don't have metrics to put against this to take to those advertisers to say, oh, we think this will be worth it. This show that was similar to it did this. That's why we should. Or, hey, if you buy into this show too at this much. With the Supergirl thing, they'll be able to run metrics to see what kind of social media footprint it was picking up, how many people were talking about it, the positive reviews that were coming out about it versus downplay the negative reviews, say that, yeah, there were some negative reviews, so we've tweaked some stuff. We took it back into edit and we fixed some things. All of this stuff, it just becomes focus testing for them. So when they say, okay, it's time to put it on the big box and the big screen, they've got metrics behind it. They can go to advertisers. They can line more stuff up. It gives them more juice. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes standard. If pilots premiere online long before they premiere on television, I think eventually there is no difference in many respects.
No
it's only a matter of time.
So crazy though, just for the timeline on this, because I don't want to watch the first episode of a series and then have to fall in love with it and then have to wait 6.5 months to see the second episode. That is going to piss me right off. It's going to chap my ass.
That's fair. That's one way to look at this. But there's been talk about this.
But you know what? But here's what's going to happen is there will become a science to it.
Yeah.
It will become the 3 months. The 2 months. There will be a lead into it.
Yeah,
it will
a month
work
out,
its way there.
a week out.
They'll
Yeah,
figure out what the
that's much more
sweet spot
doable
is,
than
and that's
6
just
months.
how it will work.
Yeah.
And you'll have networks like who's got the relationship with Hulu. Who's got the relationship with Netflix? Who's got the whatever? Doesn't matter because all of these, film studios or television studios, which are also then owned by giant conglomerates of internet providers or whatever, they're all just going to play together and figure out the best way to do it, to make the most money.
We've been looking at this for a while. I mean, Comedy Central years ago was talking about how they were using the internet and YouTube and everything like that to test things in advance. They were seeing what was working before they would actually really put a lot of investment into it. So I think Comedy Central is doing this. I hope that we're seeing the change. I hope that we're seeing a new way of looking at these things. So the Supergirl leak has been great. I think it will be great in long term for everything we're doing because let's face it, guys, TV and internet, they're like this. We got to quit thinking of them as two different things because they're really not that different anymore. And I think we're going to see that convergence still happening. So.
Again, and if you're, if you're older than 25, that's the only reason you ask that question. Everybody under that age does. Why would you even ask that?
Yeah, but you're right. You're absolutely right. This is an old school question.
That is essentially just an iPad that is not touchscreen active.
You're right. That's all it is. That's pretty much it. And it's not going to be too much longer before that is touchscreen active, really and truly.
Yeah, just a big iPad.
Just a big iPad. But anyway, that's Supergirl. I'm kind of curious what you guys are thinking. If you guys have any opinions, make sure to tweet us. If you can see our Twitters down below. See, I'm at Mark Gardner ATX. That's at Danny Danger. We haven't even said our names yet, but I'm Mark.
Hi.
And then Josh over there is our producer. Say hi, Josh.
What's going on, guys?
Hi, Josh.
Hey, there's Josh. And hey, I didn't want that picture.
Josh is going to disappear halfway through the show because Josh has a phone call to make.
Josh has a phone call, but that's okay.
Josh has a phone call.
But let's talk about leaks for a minute because we were talking about, we actually didn't really touch on this the other day, but we talked about a little bit of the leaks with how leaks for movies are getting ridiculous. All of the pictures coming out from production and these stills from the Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn and everything.
If you're going to leak something less tacky.
Yeah, well, the conversation about Harley Quinn in this Suicide movie is just,
outfit.
That's an entirely different conversation right there because
Are we calling these leaks? Why are we calling these leaks? All this is promotion. This is audience development.
Do you really think that this is, though?
Yeah.
Really? Like some people that are just on set taking pictures. Do you think that the studio wants these pictures out at this point?
Do you think the studio could there's such a thing as a closed set. You can confiscate.
Well, yeah, of course there's a closed set. But I mean, do they really want all of this stuff out right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because all right, so think about what's being generated. We're talking about a movie that's still in freaking production.
Yeah, you're right.
That doesn't happen.
It look like a rat race to see who can put out the most information on their movie without giving it away, and it is becoming very frustrating because you're seeing like all of this just like unnecessary, just like useless information just being pumped out. Like, there's a picture of Jared Leto picking his nose dressed as the Joker.
But it keeps people engaged and excited. Where you're going to see the interesting thing happen, I think, is when production wraps. When they hit post-production and there isn't stuff to leak anymore. And post-production can take 6 months, can take a year by itself. Mm-hmm. So at that point, how are they continuing to keep the energy level up?
Well, that was the complaint I had with the Avengers because every time we turned around, they were having a special sneak peek of the Avengers, Age of Ultron. Here's 20 seconds of footage and all this on every other show. And it was just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Close. Got to turn off all that stuff at some point. Sorry about the notification. But I mean, when it comes to post-production, I do think, and we've talked about this a lot, I'm tired of all the news that comes out. I just want to give me a little bit of be like, oh, hey, that's a good buzz. Now let me see the movie. But I don't want to have 6 months of non-stop stuff about this coming out before the movie. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I an outlier in this?
No, I feel the same way. To me, if you're going to release something, it needs to be interesting, it needs to be fun, and it doesn't need to have spoilers. So like for every like leaked, not leaked picture from the cast of Civil War or from people from Civil War or Suicide Squad, I would much rather see basically what Haley Atwell does when she's filming Agent Carter. All the tweets, the pictures of like, look at all the fun we're having. Like those are the kinds of things that I want to see that for me, a fan, like build up enjoyment and a want to see a movie without ever actually getting tired or feeling like I'm just choking on press coverage of just photos of people in costumes. Like we get really, really excited and then it's like, and we want to talk about it and pick it apart for an hour and a half. And it's like, this is a picture of a person wearing. And I don't know. I just don't.
I kind of agree with you on that because I think that what you're saying that you're looking for is, to me, a more current media savvy kind of thing.
Yeah.
If we're just putting out pictures of people in costume on set, oh God, I'm so tired
If you're
of
going
that.
to put out 10 pictures, make them 10 pictures that make it feel like I'm there without actually having seen any parts of the movie.
Right. I think what you're
Cast
upset
members
about
having
is
fun,
that,
like-
frankly, that these aren't true leaks. I think what you're actually upset about is that it's not authentic enough for you.
Yeah, I think that's what I think you could be right on that, because
Kind of.
there was an article recently that came out that was talking about YouTube stars in movies and how to work them and things to look at, and they were talking about how YouTube stars and people who are very active on social media, they are very authentic in the way they talk about it, and you are going to get a huge marketing buzz by them just being authentic, being on set, taking a selfie with the cameraman or something like that. That's the kind of stuff where I will get into that, because that's an authentic thing. These things where you've got some photographer off taking a long distance picture, revealing a costume for the first time, drives me crazy. That I don't care. If this was Margot Robbie talking about stuff her own, maybe I'd be more okay with
You want POV, you don't want paparazzi.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I think you nailed it.
Paparazzi feels pushy and uncomfortable.
Fair enough, and I think that's
pictures.
an approach thing, and I think that will, the good marketing agency will do that. The lousy marketing agency won't. I think the more interesting thing is really to explore is the idea that the movie itself is only one part of the business. Mm-hmm. If you look at a film as a startup, or if you look at a film as a project, that may sit at the peak right there, but the lead up now and the draw down from it and the thousands of other ways that people have to make money. You put a picture like that Harlequin picture out there, what that's also doing is going to be driving toy sales. It's going to be driving costume and cosplay sales. It's going to be driving the thousands of different ways that Hollywood needs to capitalize on these characters and this content, because the film itself and the number of people that are actually going to the theater to pay tickets goes down every year. Well, it doesn't go down every year, but it's not. It gets more expensive. It's not where the big money in many ways are, and it's not where the long tail is for something like this. So there's a community that has to be built around this. There's a world that's built around, the Avengers being the great example. And you don't just buy into the characters of the Avengers, but you buy into the actors and their camaraderie and the personality that goes along with that, and the trials and tribulations. And now it's only a matter of time before the reality show of the making of the movie, while the movie is being made, becomes like you have the film being released and you have the television show of the making of the film.
Oh, yeah.
And it just becomes a very meta examination. And I, again, don't know what they do in post-production. But actually, I do. That's when they start releasing the stuff. But
the stuff.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. Yeah.
Well, and no, so I guess here's the question. You've got all these DVDs that are releasing special features and all of these clips from the making of the movie.
But nobody buys DVDs.
But are those things the things that we want to see in leaks and updates about movies?
When was the last time you watched the director's track of something?
Well, yeah, but
or a DVD in general.
Having said that, there's if you look at a lot of the stuff, like let's look at Lizzie Bennett Diaries that was on YouTube forever and ever, and big hit on YouTube and everything like that. They did a Kickstarter for a DVD, and they sold hundreds of thousands of DVDs. People loved it. They loved the extras that you got in there. They loved having that physical media. I hate spinning media. I wish physical media would die, but people still like getting that stuff. And I think what you're getting at is those extras that are on there, those interviews, those behind-the-scenes things. I put out behind-the-scenes stuff for my production, and people ate it up.
Yeah.
People love seeing that stuff. Is it on DVD, or is it on YouTube, or is it on Periscope, or whatever? I don't know where it's going to be in the next generation of media, but I think that people still want that.
But that's what this is. This is just real-time extras.
This bugs me, though.
That's not really what this is, though. This is... this is just a photo of her walking around. Like it's not an extra. I can't glean anything from this picture other than what I think of that outfit. And if we're going to make a snap judgment based on me as a Harley Quinn fan and a comic book fan about what I think based on just looking at this picture, I think Killer Croc looks exactly like the Thing painted green. And I think that outfit is so incredibly tacky. I can't even begin to break down why a gymnast would wear those tiny shorts and what would physically happen to her as soon as she tried to do a cartwheel in those things.
Shoes
and
look
that's all that I'm
uncomfortable,
getting
too.
from this picture.
What's that?
Shoes look uncomfortable too.
Oh yeah, those now they look uncomfortable, but those are some killer shoes.
No, the discomfort, I do not care. I have worn shoes just like that are totally uncomfortable. They're worth it.
The fuck is the matter with women? That's a whole different topic.
fabulous
That's a
for you
different
to
show.
learn.
That's a totally different
Okay.
show. But yeah,
But-
she can't
but-
fight in those.
Now,
There's no way.
if this were
Stab
an
someone in the
interview
brain.
and she was wearing the exact same outfit talking about playing Harley Quinn and what it's like to play Harley Quinn, and just a quote from her about the experience of being Harley Quinn, my reaction to this photo would have gone from negative to positive, more than
like that.
likely.
I agree with you.
More than
I
likely.
agree with you. Put it on Periscope.
And the picture doesn't change at all. It just comes along with a quote. That's it. That's all.
Oh yeah, do something like that. But this, to me, I think is we're having the problem with, and I think we're just going to disagree.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
This is just we want.
I don't know. I'm
Netflix.
so angry I'm leaving.
Okay,
I'm so
get out.
angry. I'm leaving.
Get the
Rage
door's right
quit.
there, sir.
Rage
No.
quit.
But our entire point of this wasn't even to talk about this. We just got totally sidetracked. We were talking about the news came out that Harley was supposed to be part of the Arrow universe, and when the Suicide movie came out, they had to basically take her out of contention for Arrow. And I'm kind of curious what you think about that, because they had an episode where she showed up. The back of her head was in there. Let me see if I can find it. You talk.
It's in
So-
there. It was poorly voiced and acted, if that makes you feel better.
It was very poorly voiced and acted. Is this the one?
So
Nope, that's not the one.
not necessarily even just about so in my brain it's always going to work where I compare, especially if one Harley got sacrificed for the alternate universe version of another Harley that I have only seen pictures of and have negatively reacted to those pictures. Like, I really love Arrow. I love the tone of Arrow, and not that I was a huge fan of the overly cartoony treatment of her for the couple of seconds that she's in this clip.
And it is over the top.
It is. It's really over the top, but I would much rather see Harley and Arrow than the Harley that it looks like they're creating for Suicide Squad. That's me personally. But I mean, I would really have been interested to see Arrow's take on the Harley Quinn character. Right now, it looks like the only Harley Quinn we're going to get is going to be even more over the top. Now, this is just based on photographs, not based on... But it looks like that Harley Quinn from the new movie is going to be more over the top than Arrow using Tara Strong's voice could ever be, and that makes me kind of roll my eyes.
Well, I think it's going to be over the top in two different ways. Because, okay, in the clip that we just showed on there, which I'll roll again, so there's something playing back there.
Also, Tara Strong is not as good a Harley voice as the original Harley voice.
Fair enough.
She should stick to Buttercup.
Oh, but Buttercup.
I'll hope, just keep going for like an hour and a half and I'll be back.
Sounds good.
I'll be gone for like a half hour.
Okay, sounds great. We'll be here when you get back. Anyway, the over the top in the Suicide Squad movie feels like a different over the top. I mean, this is got that real heavy, high pitched New York accent where it's straight out of the comic books. Does not fit with the entire tone of the Arrow universe at all. I feel like going over the top in the Suicide Squad, I don't think we're going to have that voice. I don't think that's the Harley that we're going to get out of there. I think they're going over the top with visuals, but not so much as the characterization. Could be wrong. I haven't seen the production. I don't know. What I do know is that Cassidy Alexa, let me find a picture of Cassidy for you guys. It's in here somewhere. There she is. Cassidy Alexa was going to be Harley Quinn in Arrow. And to me, that looks like a great Harley Quinn. She looks like she could be a great Harley Quinn. That's her, on set. I'm not, the white face makeup's a little crappy right there, but I think with what Arrow has done with that DC universe, she could have been great. They were apparently looking to have a huge story arc for Harley until they got the word that Suicide Squad was happening and they had to shut it all down.
Well, and here's my other thing is that, I feel like this is the first victim of DC's complicated cinema TV universe issue that it's having. This is going to be the first casualty, the first of what I predict to be many casualties. You can't get your two universes squared up and in line, so one of your shows, one of your universes is ultimately going to suffer at the hands of the other universe. And it's clear that they are putting the movie universe in higher priority over the TV universe. And to me, it looks like, if you, now looking at the movie universe, all we really have are reactions to the Batman Superman trailer and the original Superman movie from that universe. But fans are reacting a lot better to your TV universe than your cinematic universe. And you're going to sacrifice the well-being of your TV universe on behalf of your movie universe. Well, you're basically setting yourself up for, if you don't put out a movie that fans like, you're going to get an even harsher blowback. I don't agree with it. I think it's stupid. I think DC is sticking their head further up their butt.
It makes zero sense to me how they're doing this right now. The fact that they're even having all these movies, the fact that Grant Gustin is not in a Flash movie is ridiculous.
It really is.
The
He's
Flash
wonderful.
TV show is one of the best superhero shows out there, period. It's amazing. He's perfectly cast for it. Supergirl looks like it's going to be amazing. They're even talking about possibly crossovers between networks if they can make their stuff work together. Look, and let's get this clear right now. U2, CW, CBS, be nice. Play together, because Supergirl needs to show up on Flash and vice versa, because that would be great for both of you guys. So just make that happen. Let's just get that.
When you're having so much success with your TV universe, why would you say, look at your more successful and more fan well received property and be like, we're not going to give you this other thing because we're really hoping that this movie doesn't suck?
I don't know. I mean, is it? I feel like they don't feel like these TV stars can carry a feature. That's stupid. They're on TV. A full season is 22 episodes, and they're carrying 22 hours of content that they are carrying, and you don't think they can make it through a 2-hour movie? What's wrong with you people? Come on, DC. This is a good stuff. The stuff that the CW is doing, the stuff that all these people are doing on TV with DC Comics is where you need to be. Stop screwing around.
And it's good stuff. And even if you do have a separate movie universe and a separate television universe, they are separate universes. I understand not wanting to have two of the same character in separate universes, but if you're going to make a Justice League movie, that's going to have to happen with the Flash anyway. So why can't we do it for the Flash but not Harley Quinn? Like, it's a stupid double standard. Where we're like, we kind of want to do it for this character, but not this character, but then maybe this character, not this character. You're confusing your fan base, especially new fans who don't know anything about the comics and aren't comfortable with the concept of multiple universes. The multiverse is not a thing that really exists in most fiction people's minds.
Well, and let's be really clear, too. For the vast majority of people out there that are watching shows like Arrow and Flash for the first time, they have no idea that there's any relation between Flash, Arrow, and Superman, Batman, Harley Quinn. They have no idea. Mm-hmm. Zero. And you're really shooting yourselves in the foot by making these things so separate. You really, DC, we've talked about this a lot. DC, you need to just come on in. We'll sit down. We'll have a talk. We'll bring in some scones. We'll bring in some coffee, and we'll talk about what you need to do, because you're really missing the boat here.
And what's so ironic is that the DC comics are literally treating their universes like cafeteria food and putting everything on a tray and just mashing it all together. This is literally what the comics are doing. They are making they're making their multiverse all canon. So you've got multiple versions of Superman and multiple versions of Wonder Woman, and they're just doing this just because. They haven't actually given us a real reason. They're just doing it because they want to. They wanted to leave all the doors open for storytellers, which is, for me, I think it's basically a way to make writers happy that, are getting very curmudgeonly about working at DC for years and being censored. But I digress. But seriously, like, the comics have absolutely no care about mixing their universes, and the TV shows won't even mix their universes, or separating their universes and limiting both productions, probably more than likely the TV production more than the
you just made me
universe.
think. So the Flash season finale was last week, and in the season finale, they really did show that the multiple universes of the Flash exist, and they showed that very clearly through everything that was going on. I wonder if DC's smarter than we all think, and maybe they are planting this out there so that they can have a real type of multiverse thing going on. I mean, are they smarter than we think?
God, I hope so.
I hope so. I doubt it.
I feel like if they were smarter than we thought, there would have been a Wonder Woman movie like 3 years ago. But again, I digress.
Again, that's a whole other show. We can
DC
talk about
digress.
That forever.
Forever.
Ever and ever. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think too. I mean, make sure you shoot us a tweet or something.
Please, by all means.
Should
Tweet
Harley
at
be
us.
an Arrow? I think Harley should be an Arrow regardless. I think DC should just be like, fine, there's a Suicide Squad movie. Suicide Squad has already been in Arrow.
So again,
Harley in.
I mean,
just let her in.
Come on.
I don't miss anything. Anyways,
I'm telling you.
it's Harley.
So there is. Oh, so news this week.
We're ranting. Can you tell?
We're
Today
ranting.
is all about the rant.
And we're going to usher from one rant into another rant.
Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on.
So this past weekend, there was a Denver City Comic Con had a women in comics panel with all male panelists. Just want to let that sink in for a minute. Just give you a minute to roll that around in your brain and tell me why that makes sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
I don't need a minute.
It doesn't.
I mean, when I saw that picture, at first when I saw this out there, someone posted this picture right here. It was on Twitter. Someone was following, posted on my stream, and my very first reaction was like, "Oh, cool, all women." Wait, what? Hold on. It took me a minute to realize that there was not a woman on the panel about women in comics, and I don't understand how that got approved in the first place. Now I understand Wizard World and a lot of conventions, whenever they do panels, you will submit a panel to these places, and you will submit a panel, and you'll say, "Hey, I want to do a panel on this," and they'll be like, "Great, do the panel," and then that organizer is then responsible for booking the guests on the panel.
See, when we applied for a panel for PAX South, we had to have all of the guests included in the submission for our panel.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that should have simply solved this problem. Clearly, this convention does not have that rule, and that seems like a stupid rule to not have. Why would you want to have why would you approve a panel without knowing who's going to be on the panel? You could put any old idiot on a panel about anything, and as long as the convention approves the panel subject, they don't have to care about who's on the panel, which seems very dangerous, because if I were running a convention, I sure as hell would want to know who was on a panel, especially a panel on a controversial social issue.
So to be clear, I don't know what the submission process is for Wizard World when it comes to these panels. I don't know if you have to submit panelists or not. We don't know. So if you know, let us know, because I want to know whether they have to submit the panelists or not. Maybe they just do it by the title. Maybe they submit the panel. Regardless of what it is, at the end of the day, Wizard World approved a panel and was hosting a panel for women in comics with no women on the panel. I mean, that seems so tone deaf with everything that has been happening over the past several years in this industry. To have that happen at Wizard World, who is the McDonald's of conventions, really.
They're horrible.
Well, they're not horrible, but they ain't great. I'll eat a fish fillet, but I'm not going to like it.
If it keeps me from starving to death.
That's right. But I will eat a fish fillet because I actually like the fish fillet sandwich.
There are parts of Wizard World that I actually like.
There are parts of Wizard World that I actually like. But anyway, long story short, that happened.
Well, and there's a lot of interesting things about this panel that struck my attention. First of all, the convention came back to defend the panel, saying that this was supposed to be a historical look at women in comic books over the history of time and how they related to male characters, because a woman cannot exist in a comic book without a discussion of how she relates to her male counterparts. First of all, I found that really, really interesting. That was a very useful perspective, that we can't really have any place in comic books historically without talking about how we relate to men. Somebody tell that to Wonder Woman, who's been leading her own title since the 40s. But it was really interesting to me because there were a lot of things said during this panel. There was a very well-known, noted comic book historian, a woman who was at Denver City Comic Con, who was a guest, who was not invited to be on the panel. Which basically, like, one of these guys is like a high school teacher. So, I mean, when you're looking at like qualifications
Really?
of people, qualifications of people who can be on the panel, there's actually one person on the panel who no one could really figure out how he was qualified. He runs like a social media site that's not directly related to women or comic books. So, I mean, that was pretty confusing. Just this whole situation just really blows my mind, because it brings into call a very interesting question, which is, should men be allowed to talk about the representation of women in any media format?
Yes.
And yes, absolutely. I completely agree.
Answer
and
yes.
if you and I are on a panel about women in comics, or if you and I are on a panel about women in media and there are other women on the panel, then I think that's certainly okay. I think it's great to get a male perspective, and I think that men should be encouraged to speak out on women's issues, because I mean, if 51% of your population is crying out for social justice, that's still over half of your population crying out. Like, it takes everybody should stand up and say, hey, I don't think this is right, whether it directly concerns me or not. Now, I mean, if you flip this situation and change the tone of it different, like, would I ever be one of 4 white people on a discussion or on a panel about people of color in comics? No, because that's tacky. I would never do that. It's just not a thing I would ever do.
It's not even tacky. It's just that I have no perspective on that. Now, I think when you're talking about women in comics, the gender issue gets a little bit murky at times, I think, because I do think that there's a place for men to be in that conversation. But if you're talking about other things, like if you're talking about, people of color, I do not have the experience being an African-American male in our society. I should not be on a panel talking about the experience of African-American men in our society. Now, if we're talking about women in comics, as an ally of women in the industry, I do have a perspective, and there's a voice that I can hear from that, but I'm not the source.
Yeah.
If it's about women in comics, and it's about their experience in the industry, you need to talk to them.
And if you have an artist alley that has women available to talk to, it's a slap in the face to have a panel full of men. If all of the women, if this were like Why the Last Man, the reverse version of Why the Last Man, and all the women on Earth died, and you wanted to have a panel that was an all-male panel about women in comics, then yes, those are the only choices you have. But you've got an artist alley full of women. You've got a convention full of women who can talk on this subject with some experience, and they're not on the panel. Whether or not you approve or construct panels for your convention, those panels reflect on your convention and your company or your business. And this is a really poor, tone deaf reflection of this convention. I will never go to Denver Comic Con, and I have friends in Denver.
No, I'll never go to Denver Comic Con. But the unfortunate reality is that Wizard World's the biggest show in town. I mean, they're the ones that are going everywhere. They host all these conventions. And I think that really and truly is part of the issue here. I think that they have reached a size to where they can't be responsive to these kind of things. They've reached such a size, so they're doing Comic-Cons like every other week. There's a Comic-Con in Seattle. Oh, here's one in Washington. Here's one in Florida, Austin, wherever the heck you're going to put a convention, Wizard World's going to have something there.
So how do we hold them accountable? How do we I don't know that there's an answer to this question, but how do we hold them accountable without just saying, well, I'm not going to go to conventions in my hometown? Because if your hometown, the only convention that comes through there is a large convention that makes these stupid decisions, what are you going to do? Are you going to not participate and not be, especially if you work in the industry, are you just going to say no to that money? Are you just going to say no to that opportunity and that business and that opportunity to work?
I think at some point, yes. I mean, that has been an issue in some conventions, like Dragon Con ages ago, or not even, it was fairly recently. One of the founders of Dragon Con is a very controversial figure, and it wasn't until people really started saying, we are not going anymore, until they started doing something about it. I hope it was Dragon Con. I hope I'm not getting my conventions wrong here. If I am, correct me.
So there was a pop-up panel that happened?
Yeah, there was. Because of this, a group of creators got together and they did their own pop-up panel. And I'm pretty sure that Wizard World let them, because they're in one of the panel rooms at this point. It's not like they just went out in the hallway and did it. I honestly wish I had more information. I don't know who the panelists were, but this is one of the great things about it. I mean, they found out about this all-male panel of women's in comics, and within a day, women in comics got together and had a panel. That's how hard it was. They got, within a day.
Telling us you can't find panelists, and then a pop-up panel happens in a day? That's got to be really embarrassing for you.
I think you're wrong.
Super embarrassing.
I think you're wrong.
Well, and in the least, whoever their PR person is needs to have a sit-down talk with, in the least, their PR person should have been out ahead of this. I'm sorry, but
I've worked their PR person. They're not.
Well, should have. I'm not saying is. I'm not saying,
yes.
Here's the standard by which we should hold the people we hire. Here's the real standard by which we keep them. But here's where we should be. And the PR person should have gotten out ahead of that. And the fact that they didn't, to me, is an extreme failure on their job, because people were tweeting about this panel being announced before the convention started. I saw tweets about this panel before the convention started.
I think ultimately what this boils down to is this is a bigger discussion about Wizard World in general. And there are a lot of people in the geek community who have a big problem with Wizard World and how they handle all of their stuff. And we've gone to Wizard World before, and it's problematic. That's just being from our perspective and going there as press, as panelists. We've been to these conventions.
We have friends who are
inside.
artists who are in Artist Alley trying to make a living, and they're not very
It's very
supported.
problematic. I think that there's a bigger discussion here about Wizard World and how we're supporting or not supporting these conventions. There are other conventions that are like Alamo City Comic Con.
Alamo City Comic Con is so amazing. If you are in the San Antonio area, if you're in the Austin area, if you're in Texas, one of the best cons I've ever been to. They treat their artists really well. Whoever their headliner is going to be somebody who's big in the comics industry. They don't put all the focus on celebrities. It really is a good experience all the way. I cannot speak highly enough of how this con is run.
Yeah, look for stuff like that. There are alternatives out there than Wizard World. There's in Seattle, there is Geek Girl Con. There's Alamo City Con. There are a lot of
Staple
great
Independent Media Expo here,
If
which is
you're into
becoming
indies.
Austin's, or not even just indie, but just it's becoming Austin's, in my opinion, premier convention, because the talent they were able to pull in these last 2 years was severely impressive, was more impressive than a lot of the talent that was able to be pulled in by Wizard World from a comic book perspective, because comic book artists and authors don't want to go to Wizard World. They don't make a lot of money there.
Well, Wizard World is focused on the celebrity.
Yeah.
That's what they're focused on. If you want to meet celebrities and get your picture taken with Stan Lee, go to Wizard World. If you want to celebrate artists and comics and a community, find another convention.
Yeah.
That's what we're learning so far.
And you put your money into those conventions, so it makes it easier for other people who want to start smaller conventions in other towns to be like, hey, look, this convention did it and they're making money, so I can get my loan and I can start my business and I can do a convention in your town that is of similar nature.
Yeah.
So when you support these smaller cons in and around your city, you make it much more likely that your city will get that kind of convention.
So one thing we've learned today so far is that .geek is not sponsored by Wizard World. Sorry.
We should submit this video.
No, we really shouldn't. We really shouldn't. Oh, that would be such a bad idea. Oh, man. Here we are trying to make things happen, and we're like, you're horrible. Blah.
Did they turn down our press passes last year?
They did, actually.
We might be biased.
I'm just saying. It was pressed 2 years ago, but last year, what happened there, Wizard World? What was that? Anyway, do your thing, learn your stuff.
So,
and I will also say I've had fun at Wizard World as well. Wizard World is problematic. That's what I have to say. Turn your little buzzer thing off.
This tells me when people tweet at me
but
about
give it a buzz instead of a ring. Now we've got all these ringing things going on in the middle of this stuff.
All right,
There's a
we'll
little
turn it
switch on the
down.
side.
But I did get.
Little switch on
I
the
just
side.
wanted to check my Twitter and make sure no one was
I have to
tweeting
teach her
at
how to
me.
use an iPhone, and it's anyway.
Not throw it on the ground. Step one.
Step one, yes. Fix
Step
that
one.
broken.
Don't throw it on the ground.
Fix the broken glass.
All right.
Enough. Moving on.
So, if you want to talk about handling the press correctly in every facet and sense of the world, look no further than Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Who this week has preemptively apologized for any offensive thing that he may or may not say during the press junket for Jurassic Park.
So, okay, some people were saying when they saw this, they were saying that he was poking fun at the Avengers press junket and all the faux pas that were happening during the Avengers. I disagree.
People feel like he's making fun of the actors and the mistakes that they made.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's true.
I don't think so either.
I think he's making fun of our perspective and how we treat and idolize celebrities who are playing superheroes. While I don't think it's okay to ignore the things that actors and people and famous people say, for people to really overly criticize and really take into offense and use what people say in press junkets as a personal reflection of how that person is, as if we know them, as if we've met them, as if they like live next door to us. I think that's really interesting. So Chris Pratt saying, I apologize for anything that I may or may not say to offend someone is really funny because...
Let's be honest right now. This show that we're doing right now, I guarantee that we've offended at least one person. I guarantee. There is no way.
If we've only offended one, we're not doing our job.
You're probably right. Yeah.
We're not doing our job.
We should work. We need to be more offensive.
I'm really
let's just
good
be
at
more
that.
offensive. I think that what we're
Where's
seeing.
Josh? Come
Where's
back.
Josh?
We need to offend more people.
Josh, can you offend somebody for us, please? We need to offend more people today. To me, it really is this thing where the media is so hypercritical. And not just the media, everybody. Like, you can put out a very innocuous video just saying something like, hey, I did this thing and it's really great. You could offend somebody that maybe thought what you said was insensitive in some way. And there's this constant 24-hour-a-day hypervigilance on anything anybody might say. And Chris Pratt is about to go on a huge press junket for Jurassic World, which is going to be a huge movie. It's going to be a huge deal. I think he's making fun of the fact that he gets out there, and we were talking to Josh earlier. He's actually kind of already shielded himself for it. He's basically put it out there. He's like, guys, I'm going to offend somebody.
He can pretty much say or do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I got free reign now. I warned you.
Well, and I think this is really interesting because, like, as a person who like makes videos and is on camera, I put my foot in my mouth so often, like daily. Not daily, hourly would probably be more of a more accurate assessment.
It is really
and it really is like, you know, being a person with anxiety. I am very, very hyper aware of it. And there was a very long time ago when I had to just tell myself, like, my mantra is, you know, you're going to say something stupid rather than freaking out about what you say that's stupid and trying to step on eggshells and keep yourself from saying something stupid. Accept that about yourself and learn from it. And I think that we are getting to a point in our media where we are not allowing our people who put their foot in their mouth to learn from it because of our righteous need to teach them the lesson ourselves, because our righteous need to bring down the fury. And while I understand that, like, things that people say may upset you or incite anger, there are definitely some problematic viewpoints coming out of Hollywood, so I get it. But we need to put the focus where the focus is needed, and it's certainly not needed on 2 hours worth of ranting about throwaway comments made on a press junket about a movie about a fictionalized, fantasized universe, of which we are, by the way, not talking about. You know, it's very frustrating to see people beaten down for putting their foot in their mouth instead of us. My thing about, like, when people make a mistake or put their foot in their mouth or say something stupid is, you know, educate, don't humiliate. And we go straight to humiliation when we react to people saying stupid things in the press.
Okay, well, I have a question then. Because Kylie Jenner recently, like yesterday, maybe it was today, put something on Twitter talking about chemtrails. Can we humiliate her for the chemtrail thing, or can we educate her? Which is the best? Which is the best option? When
the best option is always to educate. Okay. I'm sorry, it's always to educate. It's always to educate. Now, that having been said, when a person just sticks their foot so far down their throat that they are illustrating that they are, like, humiliating themselves, that's kind of a different gig. Like if I get on Twitter and I say that definitively 2 + 3 = 4. That's me humiliating myself. And are you really dignifying yourself as a person, pointing out simple math to me repeatedly over and over again, and harassing text messages and long articles on every website that you possibly contribute to about how stupid I am because I don't know simple math?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay.
At a certain point, you're just stroking your own ego. At a certain point, you just want to have an opinion or ride on the fanatical wave of someone else's stupidity. And that in itself is pretty stupid.
But how do I deal with Kylie Jenner talking about chemtrails? I don't know how to deal with that.
Teacher math?
It's not even math. That's just...
I know.
I mean...
I don't have the answer to every problem,
Water
Mark.
vapor,
I don't.
Airplanes.
I don't
it's
have
not a quit with the thing. It reminds me of that video that came out years ago where there was a lady in her front yard with a sprinkler and there was a rainbow, and she was freaking out because of the chemicals in the water causing the rainbow and wanted to know what government was putting in our water so there'd be rainbows.
Well, like gasoline?
Like gasoline, yes. Josh is back.
I'm back!
And ladies and gentlemen, Josh is back.
It's like
Welcome, Josh, back.
Thank you.
It's there. You
Hi,
missed.
Chris.
What have I missed conversationally?
Oh, we have ranted so much. There's been so much ranting right now. Right now, I'm really mad that Kylie Jenner put something about chemtrails on Twitter. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I saw something about that on At Midnight last night.
Yeah, she posted something. It was like, what are these who is paying for all these chemicals? Is it killing us? What's it? Oh my God, just stop with the chemtrails.
How old is she?
She's young. I mean, I don't know how old she is, but she's not competent.
Bad combination.
Yeah,
well, and
that's
there's
true.
also this comes into play, like, who are these people's managers? Like, at a certain point, like, if you're really prone to saying stupid, uneducated things and it's bad for your career, maybe you should hire someone.
What career? What
career? What has she done? She hasn't done anything.
Okay, fair enough. I guess if you don't have anything, you got nothing to lose.
She's sort of related to Kim Kardashian. Like, that is...
Yay.
God, I wish I was born into the right family. You could just be famous for being born.
That'd be
and going
nice.
places.
Paris Hilton had a TV show.
Dare to dream.
No, Paris Hilton did a porn, and then she had...
And then she had a TV show.
Yeah, no,
You're absolutely right. That's
Make porn.
So
that'll get your career.
So it's not about being born famous. It's about engaging in an activity that could cause someone else to be born that then makes you famous.
Then that in itself will get you where
Procreatively famous.
Procreatively famous.
Procreatively famous. I like that. Instead of being creative,
That's copyrighted.
Procreative.
Copyrighted.
Copyright.
All right. Anyway, so we talked about the whole Chris Pratt thing. Do you anything else? I mean, before the record, chemtrails, stop. Just stop. Next.
All right. So I did have a nice little heartwarming moment this week when I looked at articles about Ryan Reynolds entertaining a kiddo from the Make-A-Wish Foundation who was a really big Deadpool fan. So he got to come on set and meet Ryan Reynolds and, try on the mask for a movie that he will not get to see for another 10 years if his parents have
Rated
any
R.
sense.
Wait, did you say this kid was from the Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Yeah.
Hey, hopefully we'll see it sooner than 10 years.
Well, that is true.
There's a couple of things about this story that are both heartwarming and disturbing.
And heartbreaking, yeah.
Well, but not just heartbreaking, but disturbing. It's, Deadpool, 1 is inappropriate, and 2, healing factor, can recover from any injury. This just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's a little sad, really and truly.
Yeah.
I think it was really interesting that this kid is a huge Deadpool fan because we were talking about this and knowing what media Deadpool has actually been in. I'm curious how this kiddo became a Deadpool fan because more or less in modern media, the only thing that's really appropriate for kids his age is his 1 or 2 episode appearances on Ultimate Spider-Man the cartoon, and that's really all that I can think of that's out there.
Yeah, but again, if your kid is
watch.
gonna, let's be honest, die, then you got to pack a lot of living in there. So it's basically you need to read this story arc. Yes, you're too young for it, but no one should die without having read this. Let him experience it.
He could also have, let's be honest, Deadpool cosplayers are amazing.
Yes.
If you look on YouTube
So much fun.
for any type of Deadpool at Comic-Con kind of thing, they're hysterical. They're great. So somebody his age, they could be watching, they are watching YouTube. They could have found Deadpool videos, watched these things that guy's awesome. I want to be like that guy. So they could do that. They could find him that way.
And you made a really good point, and I like the way that you phrased it before we went on film was, that when you're vibing with one of those cosplayers, he could have just been vibing with one of the cosplayers. The 2 guys that I know who cosplay Deadpool every year are 2 of the nicest, most positive vibe, just coolest guys. And they get so much reaction out of kids. It's unreal. Kids love them. And that's part of why they put on the same costume every year instead of coming up with new, or in addition to coming up with new stuff, they always repeat the Deadpool year after year because of the response that it gets from kids.
Ninja Spider-Man.
What'd you say?
I said, Ninja Spider-Man.
Ninja Spider-Man. Pretty much.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
With the name of, with Deathstroke's name.
With this. Oh, actually, I don't want to lose that yet. Never mind. I'll come back to that another time. So, anyways, yeah, that happened. I don't know what else to say about it. It's kind of yay, heartwarming time. Ryan Reynolds, good on you, sir. Good on you. You're really killing this Deadpool thing. Considering that this
Alanis Morissette should never have let him get away.
Wait, did they date?
Yeah, they were together for a long time.
Shut it.
No, I will not.
You will not shut it.
It's post Dave Coulier.
Wait, she dated Ryan Reynolds after Dave Coulier?
Now I'm just going through urban legends, but that was the rumor.
Well, there you go.
You've got the internet.
I could look it up, but then that would take time. Why would I want to do that?
Because you got something better to do?
That's true. I guess I could look that up. Whatever.
So every week we do a video of the week. And this week we ended up with
before I wanted
2.
to do that, I wanted to say again, because I was in the middle of a thing
here.
I'm
sorry, I didn't know you were still in the middle of a thing.
Oh, and then Josh wanted me to. I want everybody to remember that Ryan Reynolds is in Deadpool and killing this. He's done teasers with Mario Lopez that have been hysterical, and all this came from a leaked footage of a Deadpool movie that was out with him voicing it with computer animation. So we go back to that original deal about things being leaked and everything. And Josh, I think that might
response.
Be another example that you're talking about. This is a thing that's happening now. This was leaked. Now we've got a movie. Now they're running with this whole Deadpool thing because of a leak.
It's not a leak.
It's not a leak.
Repeat after me. It was
I do not think that word means what you think it means.
I do not think that word means what you think it means. It needs something up there. Now you can do your thing.
Okay, now I can do my thing.
Sorry.
So we do a video of the week. And one of the funny things about the video of the week is like sometimes I'll find a video and Mark will find a video and then we have to like have this epic battle over whose video gets featured. And so we have two. Are we only going to do one or are we going to do two?
You know what? You can talk about one, but this one's better.
All right.
All right, I'll talk. Okay, so Amy Schumer, we've talked about her a lot lately. She has been on a tear, and she just came out with a video with Bill Nye. Okay, so you put Amy Schumer and Bill Nye together, and it is hysterical. The Amy Schumer and Bill Nye video, basically the universe is a Pinterest board for white women. It's spectacular.
I like that you say white women.
White women.
Say cool. Say whip.
Cool.
Now say cool whip.
Cool whip. Cool whip. Why is this not playing? Am I not getting it playing?
Maybe it's because you're saying white
Take it full
women.
screen, too.
White women.
Take it full screen as well.
I'm trying.
I mean, yeah, there you go.
White women.
Come on.
Can we make that a thing?
White women got no reason.
Wow, that's old school.
I'm old, I told you.
That's true.
What do you
Oh,
say?
you know what the deal is?
Did you turn the internet off?
Yeah, hold on.
Turn the internet on.
God, Mark broke it.
Well, I
Mark
had to
broke
turn
the
it off because you were
entire
getting phone calls. and
internet.
Yeah, we'll need to.
Here we go.
We'll need to find a solution to that.
crap. There we go. So, this is Amy Schumer and Bill Nye talking about the universe and how the universe really
the timing
is.
of this with Bill Nye the Science Guy
Being on
just getting on
Netflix?
Netflix is actually brilliant.
It really is, and it's great. And this is not safe for work for language. So I mean, don't.
It's
show
certainly
this around
safer
stuff.
than Milk Lemonade, though.
Is it though? Which is safer, Milk Lemonade or this?
Last fuckable day.
Well, God, yes. I mean, I'm not sure. Oh, wow. This is an entire episode on whether Amy Schumer is safe for work or not.
Like, can I bring her to work? Like, is it bring Amy Schumer to work day?
Did you see the clip? There was actually a clip. She was on The Bachelorette or something like that. Yes, she was on The Bachelorette, apparently talking to some of the bachelors. And I just saw a clip where she just totally tore down a guy. And this guy was basically saying, I feel like I'm just smarter than 90%. And she's like, no, you're not.
No.
You're not. And she like came in. He's like, oh, he's adorable. He just has no sense of humor, is egotistical, and just like went off. Oh my God, Amy Schumer should be on all the things right now.
Yeah, every
all
show.
All of the things right now.
Oh my God, would she be an Arrow?
Amy Schumer should be an Arrow?
You said all the things. I was like, who
Why
would she
not?
be?
Is she better than Sarah Silverman?
Yes.
Definitely
I think she
more.
is.
Definitely more.
I feel like
socially
I feel like
relevant.
Amy Schumer is like the progression from like Janine Garofalo to Sarah Silverman to now Amy Schumer. Like that's the thread.
It almost feels like we've got a pendulum. Like you've got Janine Garofalo, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer.
I don't
I feel like
understand.
she's between the two of them. Because Janine Garofalo to me seems very smart in her humor. Sarah Silverman seems very offensive more than smart. But Amy Schumer feels like she's really, really smart.
And offensive at the same time.
offensive at the
Oh, that's
same time.
interesting.
So I feel like there's kind of like the extremes and there's Amy Schumer right in the middle. To me at least. I don't know.
I want to see Amy Schumer and Louis C.K.
Oh my
possibly.
God.
my God.
Teaching like a parenting class.
That would
Holy
be,
shit, that would be funny.
that would be
Right?
amazing. Can we make that happen, Josh?
No.
No.
No, we can't. We do not have that kind of pull.
Rats.
We're working on it.
If you would like to help us sponsor a show with Amy Schumer and Louis C.K., let us know. We'll make it happen if you give us some money. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Lots of money. Lots
Yeah.
of money.
I just want to see them both talk about unattended children.
That would be amazing. Oh my God.
This is great. My favorite part of the whole video is seeing Bill Nye
I was like,
swear.
this makes no sense. This
makes no fucking sense.
It's ridiculous. You guys need to watch this. Look up Bill Nye, Amy Schumer on YouTube. It's hysterical. Amy Schumer is on fire right now. She is just nailing pretty much everything. This is going to be your video of the week, I think. I know that you still want to talk about Matt.
I do, just really briefly for a second, just for those in the Geek community who have not read the book or don't know, who this is. I was really pleased with. So Late Night has had a few comic book creators on the show, but to me, it's most interesting to have Matt Fraction because he does have a little bit of Hollywood experience, but very, very little. He consulted on the first Iron Man movie, I believe, but not just talk about, his Hawkeye series, which is really important, which you should definitely watch him talk about it, and you should definitely read it because it's a really good look at Hawkeye, and my favorite look at Hawkeye, honestly. But when he really gets down to it, they talk about his creator-owned title, which is Sex Criminals, which if you don't know, if you've never heard about it, I am wearing the Brimper shirt today, is a really great story from both the male and female perspective about sex, about, figuring out sex and love and orgasms for the first time. Also what happens when you come for the first time and you realize that you stop time with your orgasms. That's the thing that happens to the two characters in the story. But so in the back of the comic, what has become really influential and powerful in the back of the comic, if you read the single issues, people started writing in asking sex advice and sex tips. And, especially in a country where sexual education is treated with such disdain that it is not in oftentimes factual, and it is definitely not enough information for young teenagers raging with hormones to process and use to make correct lifestyle decisions. Some of the questions that these people write in with are really powerful, and hearing Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky respond to these comments, not only from a position of, yes, we're educated, and yes, we, are understanding and thoughtful, but also we're fucking hilarious, is really great. So he reads some sex tips out of the back of the book, the hardcover that just came out.
And I don't know if we're actually going to be able to hear this out there. I doubt we can actually hear.
I
this
think
on the
he's got the
screen.
audio
Really?
pumped through. I mean, you just gotta stop talking and probably take the video back a little bit. That being said, I mean, to listen to Danny denigrate the American system of sexual education, yeah, that's true. In like Alabama, maybe, or Mississippi, and probably Texas and some other places. But I went to high school in Connecticut. My health education and sex education class was taught by former Mr. Universe Michael Katz. And at
How does
one,
that happen?
he became a teacher, a health teacher, an enormous health teacher. And I have a memory burned into my skull of when we watched the birthing video for the first time.
Wow.
Because we all watched that birthing video. You go through high school and you watch the video of the baby being born, and it's slightly horrifying for everybody involved.
Not here. Never happened.
It never happened for you?
Never happened.
So that did it for. So okay. So here's what he did. So he played the birthday, and I'm not going to pull this video up, by the way. He plays this video. And that's fine. We're 16 years old and we're watching it. And it's a little queasy. I mean, I'm a father. I've seen it in real life. It's horrifying. But at 16, we watched this, and the baby is being born, and the head is crowning, and the arms flop out. And as soon as the arms flop out, the teacher starts giggling like a madman. Just, "Did you see his little arms flop out? No, watch this." And he reversed it. And it was basically, it's a film strip, and he reversed the thing so we could watch it right back in again. Swear to God, my buddy Chris Nelson had to leave the room. And not because he was laughing and losing his shit, just because he might have thrown up all over the other students.
Oh my God.
To watch the baby just go right back up. And it was an experience. But that was Connecticut. I mean, we learned about sex there.
Yeah.
But the implication from you, Danny, is that there are some countries out there, or some educational systems out there that are holding the children's hands as they learn about the reach around, as they give them the active, the Kama Sutra, explanation, in between. You've got algebra over here. And then you've got, basic sodomy and oral, with the practical, possibly in Sweden. I would expect that to happen. But look, sex is a wonderful, beautiful, and very uncomfortable thing for a lot of people. And the comic book about magic orgasms may help that. I mean, I think orgasms without magic are super. I don't know that you necessarily need to stop time with it, but
no, definitely not. And if this is your first foray into sex education, you should probably know that when you come, time will probably not stop. I mean, I can't guarantee it. I don't know.
Nobody should be watching this show for sex education.
No, that's
just
probably
to be clear,
not. I don't think that's in the title. This
No.
is like Sex Ed 101 with
Well,
Danny
and
and Mark.
one of the really great things about the answer section that is illuminated really quickly is you realize the inconsistencies in sexual education, not just in schools, but from families, from parents, from different cultures. What I know growing up is about sex is going to be completely different from what you know, and completely different from what you know, and very different from what someone else of a different age knows. And so
Should be complete. Well, what do you mean completely different?
Well,
God, all you have to do is look up. There are a ton of places out there where you can find there's, I think it's even on Twitter, there are things where doctors have put in things that they've had to explain to their patients.
it really is mind-blowing what
It's
people
shocking.
In the age of the motherfucking internet.
Yeah,
In the
and
age
these
of the
people
internet.
still don't know how you get pregnant. They're like, "Oh, I've had sex."
All right,
but I
well,
can't
And you
get
have
Can
to
we-
keep
wait,
in
we
mind,
can
there's
run the
no
Google-
fact checker on the internet, so people could be getting wrong information from the internet just as likely as they could be getting correct
Oh
information
yeah, just
from
like
the
if you
internet.
look on Google right now, if you do a search,
Well,
for
I'm
what
gonna
happened
do
to
the
dinosaurs-
autofill. Like, what's the question? Like, how do I have sex? Come on,
love that you're Googling this
autofill.
right
Come
now.
on,
Oh,
why?
yeah.
What is safe on?
Safe.
Why is
Ask
safe
your
on your
parents. That's the
computer?
answer from Google.
I
Ask your
don't
parents.
Think it's
And Jesus.
Hold on. No, safe search isn't on.
Well, and the other thing to consider here is, yeah, we've got the age of the internet, but we're still forgetting that there's a significant population that doesn't have access to the internet. So we've got
So I typed in "I have sex" and the first one is "I have sex daily. I have sexually intrusive thoughts. I have sex daily. I mean dyslexia. FCUK. I have sexted." Are the first things that comes up.
It's really interesting because I think the guys do a really good job of writing this comic, and it wasn't intentionally, the letters section of this comic book was not intentionally supposed to be a sex advice column. It just evolved into it because it was a way and a place that people could ask questions and not be judged. And some of these questions are like the Post Secret kind of questions, like things that you would only see people post on websites like Post Secret, like. So it's very illuminating about what some people do and do not know about sex, but it's also really powerful that it has become a place where people feel like they can ask these incredibly personal, incredibly intimate questions and not only not be judged, but laugh along with someone else who is talking to them and explaining to them and making jokes about what they do and do not know and answering these questions for them. They have a is it technically a sexologist? It's like a sex scientist, someone who studies sex and the facts of sex that's on
guess
their
that's what you
their
would call
staff
it.
now, who helps them answer these questions, and a book called Just the Tips that was that this person
Cute.
helped them write about just sex tips from the book.
No, I think that's really interesting and insightful, and so I typed in "my boner" into the search engine, and it
$5
popped up.
for every time I
My
search that
boners
on
are
my
weak.
Google.
My boners hurt. My boners point down. My boners point up, and my boners are getting smaller. That is what that has come up with.
okay, that's great. So this is just a good example of the crap you can find online.
I'm
That's
just
all this
telling you, man,
is.
my boner.
But I mean, again, going back to your initial thing, there are a lot of people that don't know anything about sex education and don't have even the internet as a resource, kind of thing. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying on there.
And it hits close to home because I am from a small town in Texas, and there I did have friends in high school who were like, "What is a blowjob?" And like the fact that like someone at 18 years old is asking me this question is like, it's real, it's out there, it happens, and it's really cool for people to find this totally unorthodox space and place where they can express those feelings, and then for that unorthodox space to be given a slot of time on a late night television show is kind of a big deal for me. Like maybe
I feel
I'm just
bad
fangirling,
I feel
but-
bad for that 18-year-old who doesn't know. I also feel
knows
worse for the first person she gives one to, because it's going to be
Like,
terrible.
I don't know what's going on.
Terrible.
Well, here's another question though. So these kids that aren't getting the information, are they going to be exposed to sex criminals at all?
And this is part of where
Out of context, that
Out of-
sentence
that's
is,
right, that's a
are these
weird
kids
thing
going to
to
be
say.
exposed to sex criminals?
the name of the comic
Possibly.
is Sex Criminal,
Maybe.
but
Maybe.
really, and that is the question here. Now, are they more likely to be exposed to? I don't know. That is a good question, and that's part of why I like things like this appearing on the late night show. Is that even if they don't have internet, the
Number of
likelihood that they have
millennials
cable.
watching Seth Meyers. Well, I mean, they're maybe watching the internet version of it, the replays after. They're certainly not watching it live.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe this will get our parents into sex criminals and image comics in general.
Maybe.
I know a lot of
we can't
Valkyries
act like we
who
made
are
it up.
actually
I mean-
making an
No,
initiative
no.
to get their parents into sex criminals, which I think is really funny. There is a movement. There are ladies out there who are working in comic book shops and who read comics and who are fans of this comic who are like gung ho about getting their parents to read it. And I haven't got my mom to read it yet.
I don't think you're going to get your mom
I don't think
to
I'm going to
read
get my
it. You're
mom to
never
read
gonna
it
get
yet,
your
but
mom
there's
read
something
this
to hope
thing.
for.
Never, ever going to get your mom to read this thing. I don't know. I really like what Sex Criminals is doing in general with the community and the way that they're so open and talking about all these things. I'm just questioning whether it's really making a difference for people who really need the education.
No, and I don't necessarily, there are definitely people, and working, having worked in a comic book shop, I would venture to say that there are a few of these people who do come into comic book shops and who are exposed to these things, who may not necessarily be super big into the internet or be super big into pop culture.
I feel like
have these references.
I feel like there's a scripted series, like you said, comic book shop, and I thought, comic book shop, isn't that far away from a porno shop? Isn't that far away from a head shop? So I actually feel like there's a film to be made about the same scene shot in each different location with specific, and the only changes are the location, and how does that change things?
Well, and at the end of the day, I think it's really up to, with any indie title, it really is up to the people who are working in the shop and the people who are a fan of this thing to promote it. And that's why, word of mouth helps so much with these kinds of titles. One of the reasons Sex Criminals has gotten so popular was because of word of mouth. So the likelihood that these things will end up in the hands of the people, I guess the answer to that question is, well, how hard are we pushing the word of mouth? Who are we talking to about these things? Are we having conversations in the right spaces about these things? Because I know that, you never know what somebody, and that's the thing about the indie comics and the non-superhero comics, working in a comic book shop in my experience, is you never know what people are going to get into until you put it into their hands and you say, hey, I don't know if you'll like this, flip through it, see what you think.
It is amazing that when you think about how far we've come, where, from the comics code to now. I mean, we've basically Sex Criminals,
Wonder Woman having a sidekick is no longer lesbian, part of the lesbian agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, or Alfred, and the reason they had to kill Alfred for all of those years because, the two guys living together was okay. Three, no.
That's just, that can't be right.
That was basically what they thought. But it's on late night. I mean, it's not even remotely controversial.
Nope.
Yeah.
We can complain about sex ed and that all we want, the lack of sex education, but in terms of pop culture, which educates as much as the schools in coloring our perspectives, and more in many ways. Yeah. It's not only not controversial, it's embraced and by and large seen as a healthy thing. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think it's progress. I think it's a good thing.
It's progress. I still am terrified by these streams of doctors saying, what they have to explain to their patients and everything.
But you're not. No comic book will cure stupid.
No, but it's not even stupid. They're not even being told the basics about life, and it's terrifying to me when you've got a 13-year-old kid that's pregnant and has no idea how it happened, literally has zero concept of how they got pregnant and why they're going to have a baby. That's a problem. That's such a huge problem,
and it's a real problem.
It's a very real problem.
Well, I think the problem is probably the parents in the environment that they grew up with. The pregnancy is simply the result of...
Well, yeah, but how do we fix it? I mean, Texas has, the third highest rate of teenage pregnancies in the country, if not the highest rate of teenage pregnancies in the problem. How do we fix this problem, Texas? It's a whole other show. Mm-hmm. And
giving out the
Fixing Texas
comic book
will be
volume
on
1 in sex ed classes.
This show not sponsored by the state of Texas.
This is my proposal.
Thursdays, Sex Ed for Texas on Geek.
Josh, while you were gone, we pretty much alienated every potential sponsor we could get. So I apologize.
That's cool.
That's cool.
We didn't mean to. It happened, but our funding's gone. So
we didn't have any to begin with, so it's okay.
So we're okay. So we haven't lost anything. All right, whatever. You talked about Matt Fraction. That was actually a better conversation than I thought it was going to end up being.
I'm telling you.
I give it to you. I still think
you.
Amy Schumer's is funnier, though.
Amy Schumer is really funny.
Funnier.
But, yeah.
That's the thing. All right. Do you want to talk about, real quick, John Nash?
So before we take off, we just want to take a really quick moment to pay our respects and to express our heartfelt sadness over the passing of John and Alicia Nash. For those of you who saw A Beautiful Mind, you may be familiar with parts of the aspect of the life of the famous mathematician. Obviously, the movie didn't cover everything because you've only got 2 hours, but math, science will dearly miss this man. We just wanted to take a minute, give you a moment. We'll take a minute, pay respects, and.
In the arms of...
That was beautiful.
Aren't you going to finish it? You got to sing the angel.
Angel.
Thank you.
That's enough.
All right, we're not going to watch me sing at all. That would be crazy.
We're not going to watch.
No, we got another budget meeting, Josh.
What?
You
Thank
had an
you.
alert pop up.
Thank you all so much for joining us on Geek. Thanks to Josh, of course, our curmudgeonly commentator. Over here at Curmudgeonly Commentator.
Sorry, all hope is gone. Yeah, no, I mean, we've been here for an hour. Where have you been? This is me talking to the chat right now. Somebody just popped in and said, you guys are leaving? I just got here. Well,
where
I
you
don't
been?
see that as my fault.
But we will be posting this. We will be posting this on our YouTube channel
Yeah.
as well,
Yes.
which you should check it out.
Go to theweirdgirls.com. We post this on our YouTube
Yes.
channel. You can see Danny talking about comic books. You can see me playing Dungeons and Dragons on the Heroes of Awesome. We have tons of stuff on weird-girls.com.
Thank you so much for joining us for Geek, even if you came in at the end, especially if you've been here since the beginning.
earlier.
We love talking about geek stuff. We will be here doing this the same time every Wednesday, every week, until the end of eternity, until we are dust.
Or until Suicide Squad comes out. I don't know.
It's an odd thing to say.
I know, isn't it though?
Yeah.
And I get so upset.
You know,
that my head
there
explodes.
was a near where I live.
No. She already gave the outro. You can't talk more now.
Man, but it makes perfect sense though.
Hey, Will, take us to... All right, fine. You can say that, and then Will can take us to black.
Near where I live, there was a church that was demolished, but they left the sign out front. And on the sign, they had a message up there and it says, "When we rebuild, he will come." And I always felt like that was such a threat. It was like they were threatening me that they were going to rebuild and it was going to be the apocalypse right now. I almost feel like that's what I meant by the Suicide Squad movie.
That was weird.
Please tweet at us.
What's the matter with you? I mean, as someone who grew up...
Take us out, Will. Take us out, Will. Hurry.
freaking me out, man.
Lost.